Hi, so today I'm going to go over with you how to write a strong thesis, and this is something that we have gone over in the past. So it's really a review, but it's a little bit different now that we are having a thesis to answer a research question. So for a thesis to snap, it needs to be specific, not obvious. So if your research question is not asking for really obvious answers, then your answers should be not obvious, and therefore your thesis will be not obvious. It should be arguable, provable, and it also needs to be clear and answer your research question. So I'm going to go through 3 examples that you're going to have a CFU on after, so make sure that you listen closely and pause if you need to. So the research question that we're going to look at for all of these examples is, how are cities that are food deserts ensuring that kids have enough food while school closures take place due to coronavirus? So I'm basically asking, how are kids getting food during school closures? So my first example is, schools in food deserts aren't helping kids by closing schools because they aren't learning and they are miserable. So first, I would ask myself whether or not this is specific. I would say that this is not specific. It is arguable. Potentially it's provable. It's definitely not clear, and it definitely does not answer the research question. So while this is talking about how kids might feel during school closures, this is not answering my research question. So therefore this would not pass the SNAP checklist. And therefore this thesis is not strong because it doesn't pass the SNAP checklist. Let's look at example 2. It's answering the same research question, but instead I have, currently many cities and food deserts are in a state of crisis as a result of the coronavirus. This has led kids losing reliable food sources in their communities, continued systematic racism in our food system, but in some cases has created new lunch pickup programs. As many of you might know, there are tons all over the community. As a result, this has led to impact families financially as well as the health of kids in low-income communities. So this is very specific. Check. It's not obvious and arguable. And if your thesis is specific, it's definitely going to be arguable, because if it's really specific, that means that someone could argue the opposite side. It is provable, clear, and answers the research question. So therefore, this one is a strong thesis. I clearly answer the research question with specific details, and it's provable with evidence. Let's look at this final example. Coronavirus has led to many schools shutting down across zip codes. This has led to some kids losing lunch a lot, while others still get lunch because of the free lunch programs and stuff. This is specific. Not really. So I asked myself if it's specific, and this is really broad. It's saying that schools are shutting down all over the place. Kids lose lunch a lot, and there's pickup programs and stuff. This is really not clear or specific language. It's not really arguable because it's not specific. Some kids are losing lunch and other kids get free lunch still. It is provable. It's definitely obvious. but it does answer the research question. So this is not a snappy thesis. So therefore, example number 2 is the best example and what yours should look like. So the rubric that I will use is based on this exact checklist. So you need to make sure you have all of these things in your thesis. So again, just to review, your thesis needs to be specific, not obvious, arguable, provable, clear, and it needs to answer your research question. And make sure that it answers your research question, because this is a part that is a little bit different than other theses that we've done before.